Beneath the surface, that's where we go. Reading every flicker, only the careful notice. Micro expressions flashing faster than words can lie. We slow it all down and watch the truth arrive. From headline crimes to creators who pretend, to those ridiculous moments that make the internet bend. We're not here for the show, we're here for what's real. Beneath the surface, that's the deal. One creator's apology that doesn't quite sit right. A criminal story with cracks in the light. A viral fail that's funny until you see the fear. The psychology hiding in the atmosphere. We don't judge the chaos, we study the why. The little tales that give the deeper story away. A blink that lasts too long, a breath they try to hide. The body always speaks even when the mouth is lied. Where we go, reading every flicker, only the careful notice. Micro expressions flashing faster than words can lie. We slow it all down and watch the truth arrive. From headline crimes to creators who pretend, to those ridiculous moments that make the internet bend. We're not here for the show, we're here for what's real. Beneath the surface, that's the deal. No loud reactions, no cheap outrage, just quiet curiosity turning every page. Because people are complicated, messy and deep, and the smallest movements are the ones that speak. Beneath the surface, come take a look with me, where the real story lives and what we usually don't see. Micro expressions, motives in the masks we wear. We'll read between the lines if you're willing to stare. From the darkest headlines to the lightest mistake, the psychology beneath is what makes us awake. So if you're curious about what people really reveal, welcome to the channel. Beneath the surface is where we feel. I'm glad you're here. Let's look closer together.
Okay, that was my hokey little song to get us started today. I hope everybody's doing great on this absolutely gorgeous Saturday afternoon. I am trying to see where my overlay is creating issues. Why isn't it going off? There we go. I found it. Okay. Off. There I am. Hello. It's so good to see everybody. Well, kind of. You can see me, but I can't see you. Okay. Old Women of the Hills. Welcome, my friend. Just me. Wonderful to see you. Criminal Sociology and Anarchy. Welcome. Diane, my friend, thank you for being here. And AKA the Cat Lady. Thank you, Jules, for covering this topic. It's important for people to understand why mental health issues are not fodder for clicks and money. Thank you so much for that important comment. Carolina, good afternoon, everyone, mods and all. Welcome from Carolina, Hurtado. Kathy R., you're the winner today, my friend. You got here first. Okay. Yeah, you know what? We have there's a lot of different things that I want to talk about today. One of the things I'm talking about, look at my picture. Isn't that pretty? Oh, come on. Hold on. There we go. Okay. It's metallic, but it's hard to pick out. It's hard to pick up on it because of the filters that make me look so young. Okay. They don't make me look young. They just reduce the depth of my wrinkles, but they don't hide my wrinkles. Okay. So I'm working on Christmas presents. That one day is going to be a framed wall hanging. And I have two more that are kind of like the same but different. So working on that. Um, and there's some things that I want to talk about related to mental health because we've had what actually is like a disturbing display of disrespect toward people who are trying to deal and manage and heal from true mental health crises. And the the bias against mental health is actually shocking. Bill, you can come in here, but I'm doing a live. I'm on YouTube. YouTube or a client. It's YouTube. Okay, sorry about that. So the shocking display of biases and disrespect toward mental health crisis or mental health breakdowns has been absolutely terrible to watch in the past several weeks. And I did in fact notice it with the Lindsay Clancy trial. People are so certain, right? Like they're so certain in either direction. They're either she's a murderer, she's a killer, she planned it. That prosecutor, hey, listen here, Miss Prosecutor Lady, but for the grace of God, you and yours. So please be careful, Prosecutor Lady. I am in shock, actually, that this prosecution team are so adamant that this woman just committed cold-blooded murder of her children. You know, I kept thinking I watched the opening statements, first day of testimony, and I was thinking, wow, she is very angry at this defendant. Like it felt personal, right? And I kept thinking, when you see that, there's more information, there's more discovery, there's some facts, there's some evidence that is in the investigation that didn't see the light of day as they were preparing for trial or waiting for trial. And that as soon as we all heard the additional evidence, that we would also believe that she was a cold-blooded, callous murderer of little kids, babies. That has not emerged for me. What about you guys that are watching? Excited Utterance has been causing Ted Investigates to have a full-blown breakdown. Honestly, there's no need for that. I don't know. I don't have even an idea. I don't have any idea what that is, Anarchy. I haven't been watching Excited Utterance. So I don't know what's been going on with that, but I am sorry to hear that. I'm completely uncertain. I kind of wish she could do half hospital, half prison. That's fair, Lori. I get that. They had a hot mic moment yesterday. They caught the prosecutor saying, "Shut her up." It's a good thing a defense attorney was able to catch it and stand up for Lindsay. Galen, the direction of "shut her up," was that toward the psychiatrist? Who is it toward? Shut who up? Wow, sounds like I better go watch the trial. Lindsay Hendricks, welcome. So good to see you. Who were they trying to shut up? Yeah, I didn't see that, whatever that was. Everybody say, "Hey, Lindsay, hey." Do the whole Texas thing. Texas girls say, "Hey." I believe it was towards Lindsay. I saw the space between them in any situation. Happy Saturday to you too. And look, on the Texas Gulf Coast, it's a beautiful day. It's gorgeous. Like the sky is the prettiest color blue and the clouds are white, fluffy. It is a magnificently beautiful day. It was actually on J's for Justice. Sometimes I get the two channels confused. That's fine, Galen. Hey, unknown. Why are you unknown? Put a label to it, buddy. We need to know who you are. Okay. Or you known. I guess it says you known. Okay. So I'm going to need to catch up on the whole Ted investigates drama. I don't know what all that is. But yeah, so maybe this thing that was said by the prosecutor, "shut her up," maybe it was in reference to Lindsay crying. She has been, look, this woman is devastated. That type of sound, that is instinct, that's animalistic. That is a deep level of grief, loss, horror, and it can't get faked. You can't fake that. I mean, maybe if you're Meryl Streep, maybe Meryl Streep fakes it, but there's not many people that can fake that type of, just unedited horror. So, so to get back on topic here, really, I'm disturbed by the callousness toward mental health crisis. Okay. Well, I do think that it's true that people give a lot of lip service to mental health. Oh, we need to respect one another and our mental health needs. We do hear that a lot, and that type of virtue signaling is fairly easy, right? But let's face it, in the case of true mental health crisis, true breakdown, it's horrible things happen. That is a reality. Unless there's an angel on site and someone is able to step in and block the effects of mental health crisis unchecked, right? And we've seen those moments. We've seen potential mass shooting events where someone is able to step in and bring the shooter to the ground and take the weapon from them and nobody gets hurt, So, hey, Jules' husband, knock it off. I'm joking. Yeah, it was funny because I saw him peek around the door to see, because he could hear me talking, but he didn't know if I was in a meeting or what I was doing. And I was like, no, it's YouTube. Everybody knows you. You're fine. Come on in. So he's gone back out now, but I wish I could understand exactly what happened to make mental health such a horrible situation these days. Yeah, I think it's a multifaceted problem. And, this probably isn't going to be a very popular statement. But hey, I lost 10 subscribers. I think I lost 10 subscribers because people didn't like my video where I talked about uh, Trisha of Web Sleuths capitalizing on Grayson's family tragedy. They got really mad at me about that. And that's okay. I stand by what I said. Um, so I don't care if I'm unpopular. I don't care if the things I say make people feel unsafe. They need to unsubscribe. I respect your need to do that. Please do it if you feel unsafe. Or we can just try to like meet in the middle and try to have a conversation and get to know each other and try to like find the truth, because it's a rarity that either I'm all right or you're all right. Usually the truth lies somewhere in between us, and it could really help us if we could open up a line of conversation that is not polarized. You know, that would be a big help. That'd be a big starting place. So yeah, I hope you will resubscribe if you unsubscribed. But if you feel like you need to do that, then I respect your right to do that. And I hope you will, because I don't ever want anyone to put themselves in a situation where they're triggered or uncomfortable. You know, I, that is your right to do, and I hope that you will exercise your right to do it. But I also hope you subscribe if you know, feel comfortable. You don't have to agree with me, you just have to be comfortable. Okay. All right. So mental health crisis and the bias that we're seeing playing out every day on YouTube. And I first felt really uncomfortable with it related to the Lindsay Clancy trial and how this prosecutor is taking, look, here is my perspective. Okay. This is a woman who, when you follow her story, all you, if you are someone who works in the system and you understand how this should have been handled and how it actually was handled, you're just horrified. It's just a horrible thing, because there was treatment, because there are safety protocols in place for people that have a toxic reaction to antidepressants or other psychotropic medications. It is not rare for someone to start a antidepressant and the antidepressant works. It's doing what we know that it does, and unfortunately, rather than prompting a healthy level of response, it triggers a full-blown manic or hypomanic state, and the person is then in mental health crisis. We know what that is. It's not a strange occurrence. In fact, any prescriber who prescribes an SSRI, especially, you should be on the lookout for 6 weeks, but absolutely the first 3 to 10 days. You should be on the lookout for anything that would signify an unusual increase in energy. Here's one thing we know about antidepressants. You don't take an antidepressant and 48 hours start feeling great. They don't work that way. You take an antidepressant and then you wait 4 to 6 weeks to see if you feel better. And if after 4 to 6 weeks you don't feel better, then they bump up the dosage a little bit, and then wait another 4 to 6 weeks. It doesn't work the minute you put it into your bloodstream and then 20 minutes later it enters your blood and now you're having the effect. It's not like taking ADHD medication or taking a pain med, or it's not the way that it works. It takes time for it to build up in your system, right? So it is a huge red flag to start someone on an SSRI and then you talk to them a day, 2 days, 3 days later, you call, you check in with them. How are you feeling? Are you sleeping? And they go, thank you so much for the prescription. I've had 3 tablets and I'm doing so much better. I feel so much better. I I only needed 7 hours of sleep last night. I cleaned my whole house this morning. I am so grateful you have changed my life. Guess what, guys? If that happens, guess what I'm doing? I'm on the phone to the psychiatrist. You may have a developing problem with patient XYZ. Should we bring them into the hospital? And I don't know a single psychiatrist that would say, no, let's wait and see what happens. We are not waiting to see what happens. We understand the process that is in place. We understand that they should not be feeling better after 3 tablets. They should not be seeing improvement in sleep after 3 days of treatment with that particular medication. So that all the signs were there. And if that doesn't align with your certainty that she's a cold-blooded murderer, then I get that. There are many people that do feel very strongly that this was pure murder, nothing else. However, when you listen to the psychiatrist who was supposed to be her treating physician at the treatment center, and this woman didn't know anything about her. They did not do a good background in history. They did not get information on things like exercise habits, sleep, changes in energy. They just did. I don't know what's going on in Massachusetts. How do you have that many people in a multi-week scenario? How do you have that many people that don't seem to have even gone through the most basic training? It's very strange to hear these people testify. It doesn't align with what I know. This psychiatrist did not even know that how you would diagnose from the DSM. She didn't know how to diagnose postpartum depression. She didn't know what that was. She didn't know what the modifications would be in the DSM-6 and how the identification and diagnosing changes from the DSM-5 TR to DSM-6. She didn't know what TR meant. I was going, are we sure this is a doctor? Or is this somebody that just plays one on TV? What's happening here? This is very strange, right? So with the current diagnostics, postpartum is it's part of the diagnoses nomenclature, but it's managed as time restrictions, meaning what was the onset of symptoms? Is this depression? Is this anxiety? What was the onset? Okay, onset postpartum. Now we have a diagnosis that is, we got postpartum depression. Then we started antidepressant medication according to protocol. And we failed to pick up on the developing hypomania manic syndrome. We didn't pick it up. We gave her Seroquel, we gave her an antipsychotic, which is fine, but in reality, what you would want to do is, or what I've seen the physicians do in these cases, is take all the substances away to get to baseline, to get that person healthy as fast as possible. And then once you're, and the anti-anxiolytics, the benzodiazepine, that's a part of that. That is a very fast acting short duration medication that treats their symptoms. It calms things until you can get that SSRI out of the system and start over with a better class of medications. And then the other thing they did is they put her on Elavil at some point. Is just a disaster. It's just a disaster. And the husband, all the husband was worried about was, oh, I don't like that she's taking benzodiazepines. And I'm like, you know what? She doesn't like that she's losing her sanity. And if a little bit of benzodiazepine is calming all of that energy that's happening, that's okay. We're not going to be these irrational people so terrified of addiction that we're going to let people live in a state of torture. We don't want to be that country. We don't want to be those people, right? We can deal with a little addiction problem. We can. We know how to fix it. There's good medications to treat addiction. But what we can't tolerate is just torture of a person who is in mental health crisis. Are you going to say the same thing about denying a diabetic insulin? Are we going to do that? Are we going to say, no, we don't want any kind of problems. We'll just have to let this person suffer through their diabetes, let them lose their sight, let's start amputating limbs, but don't treat it? Of course not. We know how to treat it. We understand the chemical imbalance, what's going wrong in the body with diabetes. We also understand what's going wrong in the brain when it comes to postpartum onset or manic, hypomanic reactivity, bipolar psychosis. We know what these things are. And there's good medications to treat people. But you got to be educated. You got to know, one, what you're seeing, and two, what is the standard treatment protocol, and then three, does this person need some just comfort medication? Do they need to just be stabilized? And then we'll worry about a long range plan for treatment. So it just, there were so many people along the path of Lindsay Clancy that dropped the ball that it is the most tragic case I think I've ever heard of. It's just horrible. So now she is under treatment. She is mentally stable. And now you see real Lindsay Clancy. You see the grief. You see and hear the horror. And you've got this prosecutor that is just like, she did it. We're not considering anything else. She planned it. She wanted them gone. Really? The house was filled everywhere you looked with children's books and toys and teaching activities. This woman wept because she did not want to be taken away from her baby. She did not want to go back to work. She made the statement, it's unnatural for a mother and a newborn to be separated. And in my opinion, she's right. With both of my kids, I quit working and I stayed away from work for 3 years so I could be with my kids during those early formative years. And yeah, not everybody can do that. And I understand that. My heart goes out to those families. So this is not a simple case of just a cold-blooded personality disordered killer. We are putting mental health on trial, in my opinion. Okay. The next thing that happened that really bothered me with this whole mental health crisis bias that we seem to have, we being the collective population of the United States, was this Perez Hilton situation. And I talked about that in the review that I did of Trisha of Web Sleuths. Maybe that's why people unsubscribe. Maybe people, it was cool to hate Perez Hilton, and maybe they didn't like what I had to say about what went on with Perez Hilton. For whatever reason, they decided to unsubscribe. The truth is this: people don't cut themselves up with a knife in order to make content, to make money. Just like normal people, healthy people don't tell the internet that they have cancer in order to make money when really they don't have cancer. Normal people don't do things like say, we're, I know you all love our website, the Web Sleuth website that we have, and the only way that we're going to be able to keep Web Sleuth online for you is for you to give me money to pay for the servers. So I need $1,200. I need 17. I need 2,700. I need 5,000. I need 3,200 for servers. Really? Really, Trisha? I've got 2 servers running in my house right now. It's not even in the hundreds. So what did you all do with all their money? But people don't want to be tricked. People don't like being foolish. So that means that they have a personal investment in standing up for Trisha and calling a bunch of strangers liars or gang stalkers or bullies or trolls. Trisha likes to call us trolls, right? Okay. Yeah, trazodone would have knocked her out. Seroquel should have knocked her out, but what happens when someone's in a manic state? What happens to those medications? They're not very effective, are they? Yeah. So it's a very complicated clinical picture, what was happening to her biology. The physiology inside of her was blown up by the antidepressant. When she started the SSRI, she had a toxic reaction. And so everything that you would predict from medications and such would be wrong. You can't count on, if somebody is in a manic phase, whether it's bipolar mania, whether it's mania from antidepressant use, whatever triggers the mania. From amphetamine use, you can become manic with cocaine and such. Once you're in that manic state, the chemistry is just so disrupted that doctors they lose their ability to predict how this person will react to a medication. So they would prescribe something like Seroquel or trazodone, benzodiazepines. You prescribe that and you hope that it calms their system. You would hope that it brings things down a little bit, but depending on the toxic reaction, the level, it may actually amp it up. It may actually make it worse. So managing blood pressure would have been critical for Lindsay during this period. Just a really complicated clinical pharmaceutical problem. And maybe that's why these healthcare providers went, what? We don't see anything. Huh? What? Maybe they just didn't want to deal with it. Maybe it was too, maybe they didn't have the proper type of facility to send her to. Maybe they don't have enough beds available for psychiatric patients in Massachusetts. but you can still send patients out of state. So I don't know, that shouldn't have stopped them. It's a mystery, really. It's just a mystery. I surely hope that this jury is listening and paying attention. Um, this woman, for the rest of her life, will need treatment, because my guess would be, it's only a guess on my part. My guess is she's so devastated with the realization, knowing what she did, what her body did. I don't know that there would ever be any healing or happiness. I don't know that that would ever be her. Let me say it this way. I think this is the most accurate way to say it. Her status to try to just get to a new normal, I think would just be sort of a constant state of grief. I don't think happiness would ever return, right? I think the trauma is too big. I think it's, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong. But even to be housed in a psychiatric hospital, I don't look for her to ever be out. I don't think if they come down with guilty, or I'm sorry, not reason by in, insanity, not guilty by reason of insanity, she still will be incarcerated. She'll still be in a hospital, and they're not going to let anybody out. They're not going to say you can leave, you're healed, you're stable, you're balanced. As long as you're suicidal, as long as you're deep in acute grief, they're not going to let her out. So it's not like she gets off scot-free. She doesn't get off scot-free. That doesn't happen. All right. So now let's move on. Perez Hilton. Same reaction to Perez Hilton. We heard Trisha of Web Sleuths say, "Oh my God, what did they think about her? He was just stupid. What he did was stupid. It was stupid to go on and cut yourself and spread blood all over you." Blah, 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 blah. Okay, first of all, this is a person who is revealing herself to be completely unfamiliar with the demands of mental health crisis. She doesn't understand emergency when it comes to mental health. He was in an emergency. You want to know what the biggest proof is that what I'm saying is accurate? His 3 young children didn't recognize who this man was, their father, and they left the home together willingly. 3 little kids recognized whatever's happening to dad, that ain't dad, and we are safer out on the street, surrounded by a bunch of strangers, than we are in our own home with our own father. Think about that. So Trisha, are you really going to stand by this statement that he's faking it, when 3 little kids fully recognized something horrible was happening in their family? Or Stacy had a brilliant thought. She said that maybe he was psychotic and was just pretending to cut himself. Do you know what psychosis is? So why am I bringing that up? Well, the reason that I'm bringing it up is because there are people, a lot of people in that channel that hang on every word that Trisha and Stacy say, or Connor, or other people that come to the channel, Lauren, Megan. It's mystifying to me that they listen to these people. Look, the majority of time, I don't think that Trisha even knows the cases that they're talking about. I think that she says, oh, this is in the news. People are going to want to know about this. We should talk about it. And then Stacy sends over a script. And then Trisha reads it. And I don't think she knows I don't think she knows what she's talking about, right? So yeah, psychotic but pretending, Lindsay. Yeah, right? Oxymoron. Okay. No, it doesn't even, you can't even figure it out. Wait a minute. Why? Okay, so we're going to acknowledge psychosis where everything is going wrong upstairs, but we're going to pretend for the motive of making money, but we're psychotic. Very, very odd. It's very odd. I don't understand it, but it does make sense if you think it's simply two people with a YouTube channel that literally know nothing about mental health crisis. They don't know anything about the way the brain works. They don't know anything about the different things that can happen when the brain is not working properly. They certainly don't have any idea for proper protocol on how to react, how to help someone and get someone to safety when they are in mental health crisis. So why are they so quick to be the ones that want to make this content? You're doing a disservice to people. It's atrocious. Here's one example, Trisha. You have no idea of the 50,000 subscribers that you have, how many of them self-harm. Because if you were educated, you would know that acts of self-harm have been finding more acceptance in some communities as a coping tool. So you go live and you talk about this self-harm event that Perez Hilton had on camera, unfortunately, and you say, oh, stupid, just stupid. And you have disdain on your face, right? Just you're sickened by Perez Hilton. Wonder how many of your subscribers were ashamed in that moment. They're ashamed because they experienced complex trauma as children. They have been victimized and re-victimized across their lifespan. And perhaps they have developed that maladaptive coping tool. I'm not even going to say it's a skill, but it's a compensatory behavior where they're using self-harm to regulate. You know anything about that exactly? Like, do you know what that is? Would you say that self-harm is, or cutting, would you say that that is a suicidal behavior? Because if you did, you'd be wrong. People don't cut because they want to die. People cut because they don't want to, because they want to feel better. That's why they're doing it. So when you take on some of these subjects to discuss in a general format, I'm still chuckling about about Trisha's statement where she said, we cover true crime on this channel, and so we're going to talk about Perez Hilton's breakdown. Still, Lindsay, help me, girl. What does that mean? You cover true crime, so you're going to talk about Perez Hilton's meltdown? Was it a crime? The man was in a physical health emergency. His children were in an emergency situation. Those kids have been traumatized horribly by what they witnessed before they got out of the house. They were traumatized once they were out of the house and didn't know where to go or what to do. But you go up on your channel completely uninformed, completely. And you, oh, Perez Hilton, stupid. Well, yeah, but not as stupid as, looking for old women with a lot of money with no people to leave their money to, for you to move into their house and start helping them spend their money. That is what I call stupid. A little sociopathic, maybe, but stupid, yeah. It's just awful. All right, now then, I am too. Perez was in the hospital for weeks before this with sepsis. There you go. There you go. Sepsis, liver. There you go. His brain was affected by that, plus all the medication. 100% true, cat lady. Yeah, liver dysfunction is notorious for creating psychosis-like symptoms. Did y'all know that? Most people don't. The thyroid also, but the thyroid acts much like psychosis if you were taking like amphetamines, right? But liver do it. First time I ever saw someone devolve into psychosis was a result of liver dysfunction. There you go, Ginger. Thank you, my friend. Ginger's right on point. You're exactly right. Okay. So I think that, the Lindsay Clancy trial, the Perez Hilton crisis online, the reactions that Lauren took and Trisha took at the death of Grayson's brother, it all shines a huge spotlight on the reality that there is a stigma against mental health dysfunction, and people sometimes can't recognize what they're seeing. People may be angry with me, and I accept it. People may be angry with me that I called out Lauren or that I called out Trisha for taking this family's tragedy and spreading it all over the YouTube channel, making content out of it, making money off of it. They're angry with me because they say that I am bullying. I'm bullying Lauren. I'm bullying Trisha. No, I actually said this is how to handle it in a dignified, respectful manner where you're not exploiting the family. I called out their bad decision making and said it's Grayson's not in it, or I don't know what's going on now, but when somebody finds out, like when they're in that initial state of shock that their loved one has passed away, they're not in a position to be making good decisions, and they should be protected. Their privacy should be protected. The fact that maybe they're not making good decisions, they need to be helped and protected, not left alone, and not encouraged to work, because that's what we do here at Hidden True Crime. Excuse me? Lauren, that was so inappropriate. You don't keep working when you're in the shock, the initial stages of horrifying loss. That's not what you do. That may be what you do, Lauren, when you're feeling upset, when somebody's talking mean about you, or somebody has made fun of your eyebrows. Maybe that helps you feel better. That's how you manage the frustrations of life. Okay, good. I work too. If you could see me right now, I'm surrounded by piles of books. I work too, especially when I'm not feeling very good. Okay? But you don't work when you're not frustrated, you're devastated, because a person that has always been in your life, you now have to come to the horrified realization that this person is not in your life anymore. It is not a frustration, Lauren. It's a life altering change that takes time to heal from. It was abusive. The way it all unfolded was abusive. And you followed up. You said, here, hold my beer, watch this. And then you said, you announced to the whole world, well, you made an announcement about Grayson's health status, and that was wrong. That was a bad friend. That was a bad journalist. That was a bad pretend psychologist. It's nobody's business how Grayson is doing. You don't tell 300,000 people, well, Grayson's not doing well. She's not doing well. You don't do, it's none of your damn business. You had one job, Lauren, to protect your employee. That was your job. And what she went through with her family didn't have anything to do with your channel. That's the truth. This wasn't a hidden true crime tragedy. This belonged to Grayson and her parents, not you. Okay, I'm done with all that. Okay. And thank you, Grumpy. It was actually illegal what you did, Lauren. And frankly, you got 300 and some odd thousand subscribers. Trish has got 50,000 subscribers. Not a single one of you 400,000 people, not a single one of you stood back and said, oh gosh, this is unfortunate. What is Lauren doing? Not one of you. Oh, but you came over long enough to chastise me and say, I'm a bully and I'm a troll. No, I'm not. I'm neither one. You know what I am? I'm one of maybe two people that stood up in defense of Grayson and her family's right to privacy. All of you virtue signalers that came in here calling people trolls and bullies, me and Every Day with Jay, as far as I know, and I haven't looked at all the channels clearly, but the only two people that I know that actually stood up and spoke out for Grayson and her family's right to privacy, the right her brother had to privacy. Did you guys know that right to privacy legally, as a standard, right to privacy does not end in death? John Matthias, you didn't know that. You went live on your Patreon. You put up a paywall to get money. And you proceeded to have a conversation with Grayson about a man who was dead. You said, oh, well, I guess, he's dead, so it doesn't really matter. Huh? Excuse me? Are you sure you're dealing with legal documents? Are you sure about that? There's plenty of evidence that you don't know even the most basic laws. All right. Hello everyone. Happy hippies here. We love those happy hippies. I'm being kind of hippie-fied today. Look, let me show you my hippiness. See my embroidered, what's it called? A pheasant shirt. Look at my cute little pheasant shirt. Isn't that cute? It's so cute. I love it. And if you could see the breeches I'm wearing bell bottom breeches. Right, hippie? Hell yeah. We're gonna be listening to some Bob Dylan here in a few minutes. Or maybe we'll listen to some Carly Simon. All right. Okay. Thank you, Gen X. Yes, I am bohemian at my heart. Absolutely. Happy Hippie said, hello everyone. Old lurker that I enjoy this chat because everyone is so respectful and caring. Jules is top notch with the way she brings awareness to sensitive topics we all deal with. You are a sweetheart. Happy Hippie. Thank you so much for your kind words. Even though some people say I'm a bully, I'm going to choose to believe Happy Hippie, my spirit animal. All right. Okay, let's move on. Being silly. Okie dokie. You're so vain. There you go. All right. Peasant blouses, peace, love, and Bobby Sherman, baby. All right, here we go. So now, let's see. We are going to talk about Lee Gilly, just a teeny little snippet. Let's see. All right. So we're going to talk about Lee Gilly in just a minute, but I don't want to do that just yet. Okay. So before we kind of segue into the information about Lee Mungerson Gilly, I want to take a minute to, like, brief, okay? I'm going to take a very brief little jaunt down the road of complex trauma, okay? So complex trauma, so we have diagnoses like PTSD and such, but complex trauma is like a special classification of trauma where you're initially there is in childhood the first trauma occurs, right? And then as that person goes through their life, they're being re-exposed, re-traumatized, and each new trauma that develops, it is always triggering the original trauma, right? So, which is qualitatively different than if your first real trauma happens in adulthood. Then it tends to be very molar. I don't want to use that word. Then the initial trauma in adulthood, it does seem to have its very own place in the brain, in the memory structure. There may be a little bit of connection to other sad or difficult events, but not in the same way as in the case of complex trauma. So there's a few things that are that make the trauma qualitatively different when the first trauma occurs in childhood. And one of those things is just the high plasticity, the high level of plasticity in the brain. Plasticity of the brain, that doesn't mean plastic. The term means that the brain is primed or programmed to learn. So newborn babies that come into the world, no one has to tell them, now pay attention, I'm about to teach you how to say mama. That the brain is already primed. It's ready to go. Anything it experiences, anything it sees, any kind of sensory input, it gets processed into long-term memory. And then those early childhood experiences, they form the foundation then for all the learning that happens throughout our lifespan, right? So hopefully you don't have trauma in childhood and then you have a good foundation for later. But, the truth is People do get traumatized in childhood, and it's not just physical assault. Sometimes it's emotional stuff, sometimes it's abandonment, sometimes a deep level of humiliation can create early trauma. Oh, here's a big one: rejection. We don't really ever think about, it's really easy to point out like physical abuse can be trauma, but I think there are many other types of trauma that can occur and serve as a foundation to developing complex trauma. And rejection is huge in childhood. Who agrees? If you agree that rejection or humiliation, that those can actually be processed as trauma by a kid. If you agree, put a 1. If you disagree that trauma has to be physical assault or parental neglect, put a 2. What do you guys think? Hey, Daisy White. Hey, Retha. Okay, so a lot of people agree. Yeah, we don't ever think about, we know what physical abuse is, right? We understand what legal neglect, how horrific that can be. But look, there's a lot of trauma out there, and bad trauma. Rejection is actually a critical violation for children. The way that I was talking about the high level plasticity in the brain predisposes us to complex trauma. Another thing that is alive in the brain of a child that is much different for a fully mature brain is children need acceptance. It's critical to their identity. They need to know what the experience feels like to be a part of a group. Group identification is one of the earliest ways that we define ourselves, right? And obviously, the first group identity that we develop is our family, right? That makes sense, okay? Which is one of the explanations for why children that maybe have some time in the foster care system, sometimes they really struggle later on in life with identity. They didn't get that critical early identification, group identification. It was disrupted. And so you can go back and reparent, and you can heal and have a very healthy, happy life. None of this is fatal, right? But you do need to find someone to help you that knows what they're talking about, someone that's got a good education and they understand people, but I think rejection and humiliation, that is something that is basic to children. They need to feel that acceptance. They need that. Kids don't ever need to be punished. Did y'all know that? The reason that kids don't ever need to be punished is because the positive reinforcement of just saying to the kid, thank you, you're so much help. Thank you for spending time with me. You're so fun. Thank you so much. I always laugh when I spend time with you. Just saying these things to little kids, they're ready to do whatever you ask them to do. They require acceptance. And so when there are children that fail to find acceptance, when they grow up lacking group identity, it can be very traumatizing for little kids, right? Okay. Which I think is a really interesting consideration for YouTube, isn't it? Because what do we see? What is 11 on the streets of YouTubia? Group identification. People want to be part of the group. They have their favorite channels, they have their favorite creator, and that's who they stand up for and they fight for. People come over and call me a troll, or they come over and they call me a bully, and they tell me how great Trisha is. They come over and they tell me all the wonderful things that Lauren does for people, and that I'm the bad person. That's group identification. Being part of Hidden True Crime matters to them. They like having their group of friends. They like I mean, a lot of people buy merchandise. They buy caps with their channel name on it, like you do with a baseball team. T-shirts. I have a Sophie Cunningham T-shirt where she's pointing, right? So, yeah. So identification is important, and early trauma can come in many forms, and so complex trauma can come from physical abuse. It can come from abandonment. It can come from parental neglect or caregiver neglect. Betrayal is huge. Look, I'm gonna say this. It's my opinion. Kids heal faster from physical assault than they do from critical betrayal by a parent. When a parent or a sibling betrays you, very, very painful, very, really traumatic. And it can serve as that complex trauma that gets reignited, re-triggered with each new trauma. And don't get me wrong, trauma is the norm in life. Nobody gets out of here without having trials and tribulations. We have good days and bad days. We also all have periods of time where bad things happen. Unfortunately for Grayson, they're in one of those moments where unfortunately bad things do happen, and it's no one's fault. No one's fault. They just happen. And we need to know how to heal and manage and help those that we care about when it does happen. And one thing that we have to do, Lauren, Trisha, when our friends experience a tragedy or a loss in real life, we as YouTube creators, we should not make it content. This will come back to bite you guys in the butt. This was wrong to Grayson. It was hurtful. Lauren, if you don't believe me, ask your husband. But it was wrong. Here's the truth. It is Grayson's story to tell if she wants to. No one should have been given that very personal, private information. No one. All that needed to be said was, we are sad to say Grayson and her family have experienced a terrible loss. Here is where you can send flowers or donations, blah, blah, blah. Funeral arrangements will be posted at a later time. And then leave them in peace. Do not invade their privacy by telling 400,000 people that she's upset. Of course she's upset. Okay, I'm so frustrating. So frustrating. Okay, I'm done. I'm done complaining about that. Okay. They rather protect and enable the lies than seeing the truth. Yeah, you see things that, just like I said, them coming over and saying that I'm a bully or I'm a troll, right? When the reality is that me and Jay are the only two people that have spoken up to say, please give this family their privacy. Take those videos down. Don't spread the details. What are you doing? We're the only two, but they don't see that as a pro-social behavior. They don't, it doesn't fit the narrative to say that calling this out and saying you shouldn't be talking about your employees' grief and the things that you witnessed when she had the expectation of privacy. You shouldn't be able to make that content. People just choose their group identification and they say, oh, look at that bully saying that, when the truth is, I'm the one that called it out. I'm the one that said, please don't violate her privacy. It's wrong. Don't do that. And it's wrong to take the death of JJ and Tylee and turn that into a 24-hour annual grift aberration. Don't do that, Trisha. It's wrong. Okay, I don't know why I'm trying to appeal to these people. I don't know why. Okay, so somebody asked a while ago, what do I think about the causes or the precursors of so much dysfunction in society right now? I think a lot of the dysfunction, I think we're seeing the dysfunction is seeing how true complex trauma is expressed not in Hollywood. People that experience complex trauma, early childhood trauma, how do they actually act in adulthood? Like, how does it affect them? How does it color their behavior? Things like that, right? And I think a lot of what we're seeing now in our culture is trauma that's affecting behavior and thoughts and relationships. I think the types of defense mechanisms that you develop are the direct result of the types of trauma and losses that you experienced as a child, or if you didn't really have any trauma as a child, then your defense mechanisms are probably a lot healthier, right? I think what you're looking at as dysfunction, I think, is just the expression of complex trauma. I think it's just, what happens. The traumas that children experience or that people experience, it serves as like a foundation for even like conditions that have repetitive type behaviors, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. That's the result of trauma. That's a trauma reaction. So the really and truly, what I'm trying to talk about in a real shallow, general way, you could build an entire, semester college class on just what are the effects of complex trauma and how does complex trauma express itself in people's everyday life. You do a whole college course on it too, even. It's a mountain of information. So these adult patterns of behavior that seem to include maladaptive defense mechanisms, that then serves to re-traumatize others, right? So watching Perez Hilton have a mental health crisis prompts a person to have a maladaptive reaction. Oh, it was so stupid. It's just so stupid. He's probably on pills. He's probably drunk. He's so stupid. He probably didn't even do it. It's probably a lie. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just maladaptive. It's not knowing what you're talking about, being affected negatively so that when you express your aversion to it, you're inaccurate in how you're expressing. He wasn't stupid. He's sick. He was septic. It it could be any number of things, probably not pills and alcohol. So it's really, we should do better as a culture. We should do better where mental health is concerned. Not virtue signaling, but actual when people are in need, when they're sick because their neurotransmitters, their neurochemistry, their endocrine system is so disrupted that they're no longer acting in a way that makes sense. We need to be sensitive to that, and we need to respond with the same urgency to protect as we would to a heart attack or a stroke. That's my opinion. Okay. I'm not lecturing you and telling you how to behave, but it's my political platform. Okay. We need to do better where mental health is concerned. If you're willing to accept that a disruption in the endocrine system is the cause of diabetes, why is it so hard for you to accept that same breakdown in the endocrine system involving different chemicals is at the heart of a mental health crisis? Why? All right. Should I be quiet now? Has this been going on long enough? It's been going on long enough. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move past the whole mental health soapbox that I'm on. Let me just kind of go through this little thing related to Lee Mongerson Gilly. We're still waiting to find out what it is that Italy is going to do with regards to his May 2026 flight to freedom, where he literally left Houston, went to Toronto, got on an international flight in Toronto with a fake passport, made it to Italy, and the good people of Italy said, this doesn't look right. And they found out, oh, look, he's a fugitive from the law, because stupid people in Houston gave him a $1 million bond when the guy's worth $5 million. It's crazy. It's a crazy story all the way around. It's a crazy story. So, update. Yes, we have some updates. Okay. Here's a little weird side jaunt. Don't understand it, but in July of this year, when he's already in Italy, he's sitting in jail, in an Italian jail. Back here in Houston, at a very exclusive neighborhood inside the Beltway of Houston, it's called the Heights. They had $1 million property there, beautiful, cute little wood frame house. It's lovely. It's beautiful. Their Heights house, a dude shows up, somebody unrelated to the family. They claim nobody knows who he is. I don't know. He shows up. His name is Matthew Jackson. And I did a little video on it. We talked about it. He shows up and files some paperwork saying he's the owner of this house. Right? It's crazy. So the Harris County deputies said, well, this isn't right. This is the same house we came to try to get Lee Gilly, and he had cut off his, ankle bracelet and took off to Italy. This house is not owned by anyone but Lee Mongerson Gilly. So they got a locksmith, they got court orders from the judge, and they took these documents that it was just a legal little trick the guy was doing. And the property is now rightfully in the hands of the murdered wife. Her name is Krista. That her mom and dad now have ownership of the house. So that's done and over with. The second thing is extradition, which is a big deal, right? That's what everybody's waiting on in Texas, this extradition problem where he's in Italy. The Court of Appeals in Turin, Italy, temporarily blocked a U.S. extradition request. The judges are asking for clarification about this whole death penalty issue. And even though the judge, the attorneys, they're all saying, wait a minute, this never was a death penalty case. We never made a single move to file death penalty on this particular case. The Italian court is saying we need better guarantees. We know what you want. We're willing to give that to you. We're willing to send him back to Texas to face charges. However, our laws don't allow us to extradite if he is under threat of being charged with the death penalty, or listen to this, a sentence that would be life in prison without parole. Boom. This is not a question of the death penalty. Italy wants legal reassurance with legal teeth that he will, if found guilty, that he will be given a route to parole. That one way or another, he is going to get the possibility of parole. Now, that has really ticked off some people in Houston because they feel like this is dramatic overreach by the Italian courts. That now you have Italy, a completely different country, that is twisting the arm of a sovereign nation. That Italy believes that they have the power and the standing to force U.S. federal courts as well as Texas state courts to do what they want them to do. Whatever the Italian law is, they're demanding that Texas adhere to Italian law in Texas, in a Texas courtroom. So yeah, people are not happy. So the Harris County District Attorney's Office, Harris County is the county where Houston proper is officially located. And so the Harris County District Attorney's Office has given pretty solid statement and documentation that they are not seeking the death penalty. They never were going to seek the death penalty. And they don't, if he's returned, they will not seek the death penalty. However, like I said, Italy is now saying, well, wait a minute, not so fast. It is cruel and inhuman punishment to tell someone you're going to prison forever with no possibility of parole. And we don't do that over here in the civilized world of Italy. That's kind of what they're saying. That we Texans were not civilized people. They say, do you people read? Okay, I'm kidding. They don't say that. But they do say everybody should be given some pathway to parole, even in the case of murder. All right. Now then, there is a clock ticking. There's a deadline. That's right. Italy, the Italian authorities, because they're gods apparently, have given Texas and the United States of America a deadline. They have until August the 31st of this year, 2026, which is a matter of 22 days, right? 23 days. They have to give written verification, formal legal assurances that he will not be charged with the death penalty, or if charged, he will not face the death penalty, and that he'll be given a path to parole. And that is inconsistent with Texas law. All right, now then, so there's that. Crazy, right? It's crazy. There's also infighting in Houston because the judge is stupid. Everybody say it together. 1, 2, 3. The judge is stupid. He's not really, but that makes me feel better. Okay, so the judge, this gag order that was issued, Dick DeGuerin was a big fancy lawyer. Like, just look his name up. He's a big dude, okay? Like F. Lee Bailey. So Dick DeGuerin, on August the 3rd, he had to go to court himself in front of the same judge, the same bozo that gave Lee Mongerson Gilley a $1 million bond when the dude is worth $5 million. He's got a $1 million house sitting there that's paid off. But this judge, in his infinite wisdom, he says $1 million and you can walk free. And that is what happened. And then the dude proceeded to cut off his ankle monitor. He cut off his ankle monitor and hopped on a plane in Toronto, Canada, and ended up in Italy. And now we have this, you're going to do it our way because Italy is God and the U.S. are cruel, heartless bastards. And so we're going to tell you, Texas, what you can and can't do. And now here we are. Dick DeGuerin has to go to court August the 3rd, which was last week. And he had to defend himself against violating the stupid judge's gag order through media interviews. What were the media interviews about? The Italian court proceedings. And did Dick DeGuerin say anything that was inaccurate? No. He just told the facts. He just told the truth. And the judge, who has mud on his face, says, "Oh, we're putting you in jail. We're holding you in contempt of court. We don't care that you're a big fancy lawyer. You can do what I say." Yeah, they did what you said. They let the dude out with a $1 million bond, a man who could afford to lose $1 million, judge. So stop being stupid for a change. Anyway, so there was no, to make a long story short, there was no contempt found for Lee Gilley's attorney, DeGuerin. They did reach an agreement, and they're going to amend the gag order so that, the things that DeGuerin said about the hearing were okay. So dumb, right? It's so dumb. Okay. There is an update. Put this on your calendars. There will be an Italian hearing about Lee Gilley's asylum request on August the 19th. That is right. August the 19th. We're looking at 11 days from now, guys. 11 days we should have an answer on, are they going to grant extradition or not? Don't forget, there's another deadline. Okay, we have the hearing on the 19th, but there's another deadline, August 31st, where the written assurances of, we're not going to try to kill, we're not going to give him death penalty, we're not going to try to give him the death penalty, and we are going to give him a pathway to parole. Those written assurances have to be in place by August 31st. And I don't know, here's something else I don't know. I don't know if the hearing on the 19th, if they come up with an agreement, is that going to null the August 31st deadline? I don't know. But I've given you all the dates. I've told you what is happening and the things that are going on in what is one of the craziest cases after the, Barry Morphew case, I guess, or even Idaho 4. Quick question, everybody. How many of you have been following the drama around Brian Kohberger? It's surprising Texas would ever allow Italy to tell them what to do. Texas is an independent state who wants to be separated from the United States. I'm from Houston, Texas. Not only does Texas want to secede, we can succeed. We're the only state where it's written into the charter that at any point, if Texas decides we don't like what the United States government, the federal government is doing, we can separate. Now, do I think we should? Of course not. No, but historically it's interesting, right? It definitely is in line with the whole Texas nationalism thing that we have going. I ain't from the United States. I'm from Houston. I'm from Texas, right? All right. Okay, no longer following BK. Well, things are getting very strange in the Brian Kohberger situation. I'm pretty bothered by do y'all know who Jules of All Trade? I think that's what it's called. I think she's being a little too personal in her displeasure with some victims' family members. That makes me uncomfortable. I wish that she could try to pull back a little bit from that aspect. I do think that her coverage of Cy Ray and there's some other interviews. I think the information about Jack Decor, there's some interesting things happening, y'all. I don't want to get deep into it because it's already been like an hour and a half long video. But just Jules, you've got a great message, but people are not going to hear it because we shouldn't be going after victims' families, right? That seems to be a line in the sand that we shouldn't cross, even though Trisha of Websleuth crosses it regularly with no kind of, ethical or moral qualms at all. We shouldn't do it. Just because we can, we should, doesn't mean we should. So, but if you're looking for a crime story that still has some intrigue, where the unknown continues to be pretty powerful, go to Jules of All Trades channel. It's really something. It really is. And I feel like, let me say this. Initially, when I heard the news that he wanted to withdraw his guilty plea, I thought that's nonsense. Like that's just silly. Not that's not going anywhere. Now I don't feel that way anymore. I after kind of getting into some of these interviews, some of these historical documents, um, mistakes that were made by the prosecution, by the judge, I'm worried. I'm really worried that this could end up resulting in a trial, I guess. And we wanted a trial, or I did. Let me speak for myself, okay? I really thought, because this case affected 4 young people, and there were so many friends and there were so many family members that were directly impacted, I felt like they needed that trial, because there didn't need to be any doubt that people needed to see the evidence. People needed to see the truth about him, right? So I still think he'll be found guilty. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't have access to the evidence file or anything like that. But what we know, like what we've been told, I think it'd be really hard for them to seat a jury that wouldn't find him guilty. But stranger things have happened. So I'm very non-committal at this point, is what I'm trying to say. Originally, I thought it was all nonsense, and I thought this is an exercise in futility. He's bored, he's playing games, and there's nothing to worry about here. And now I'm a little uncomfortable with the whole thing, because it seems weird. It's the things the prosecutor's office has said in the interim is very disturbing. It appears they did not have the evidence that they led everyone to believe that they did have. That is very disturbing. It's just, I'm not committed either. I can't say either way. He did it, he didn't do it, he's guilty, he's not guilty. I'm not in any position to know that or say that, but I sure feel uncomfortable with some of what's come out. All these FOIA requests that have been made by people, YouTubers, journalists. There's some weird stuff out there. Dylan Mortensen, for example. I'm sorry, Dylan. I'm just going to speak facts. I'm not going to engage in other people's delusional thoughts. Dylan Mortensen did not tell the truth. So there's evidence. There's literal evidence. What does that mean? I don't know. But that's the kind of thing that makes me really nervous about these developments. What's happening? What's going on? Why are things so weird? That's my honest position. And you know me, I'll take a position. Barry, come on, Barry, Mr. More Fuel. You know the drill, buddy. You know what the dirty deed was. You know what you did, right? But I don't. I feel very uncomfortable about the FOIA request and what they have revealed. All right. Sweet Melissa, I am on the side of the truth and justice for the Idaho 4. Me too. I don't believe Brian could have done this, or at the most done it alone. Okay, that's where, if I'm forced to err on the side of caution, Melissa, my position, he didn't do it alone. Like, nobody did it alone, right? Something's wrong with the whole story. Y'all are gonna get me talking about it. Okay. How can I say? There's problem with the blood. There's problems with the blood. And that's real. And there's problems with Dylan. I didn't say Bethany. There's problems with Dylan. Dylan lied. Bethany didn't. Dylan did. Why? There are problems. See, Melissa agrees. Am I telling the truth? And remember, all of this information, these are not things that we knew about when he proclaimed himself guilty. The investigation was protected, all of the information, there was a gag order in place, all of the evidence, all of the investigative materials or work product, it was all private, secret. Now it's all out. People made FOIA requests. It's all there. We've got police statements, police interviews, and people are taking a look at it, and everybody is like, this doesn't match anything of what we read or what we were told. It's very humbling because it seems contrived. It's weird. It's a weird situation. The damn college is involved in some. It's weird, y'all. It's a weird story. You should be watching. You should be watching because it's weird, strange. He did so days after hearing in which Ann Taylor said she needed a continuance. It's also sketchy that Thompson is who rushed to the offer and made the plea deal from understanding. And question, you guys, why did Thompson cry? Why did he weep in front of the court? I don't know. It's a mess, isn't it? If you agree with me that the Brian Kohberger, the prosecution of Brian Kohberger and the FOIA information that we've now all seen, it's a mess, put a 1. If you think it's a mess, put a 1. If you think I should be quiet because Brian Kohberger is guilty as hell and nobody else did it, and who cares if the prosecutor lied, put a 2. It is performative. Yeah, it's like molded, but there's no substance or nothing. The evidence doesn't tell the story. It's all a lie. All right, look at all those 1s. You guys are so nice. Okay, question. Do we want a sad song or do we want a fun song? I have a new fun song to end this today. Oh, the demolition of the house was bizarre, crazy, insanity. Listen, guys, the destruction of the house, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Barry Morphew's daughters rushing to go and collect their mother's remains after she sat there for years. Nobody asking to collect her, nobody claiming her. All of a sudden, they get the autopsy report back. He's about to stand trial. Now they go rush to go collect their mother because it is their religion to do a funeral. And oh yeah, my dad signed the order to incinerate her. Yeah, sounds like the destruction of evidence, doesn't it? Which is kind of like what the house looks like. It looked like destruction of evidence, in my opinion only. And I am one of those, I believed completely that Brian Kohberger done the dirty deed. But now I see all of this FOIA information, these interviews, the things that the kids said and saw. And I'm just like, I got to rethink this whole thing. I'm so confused. So it's very confusing. All right. Everybody's saying fun. We want fun. All right. How about a song in the honor of Jess Machado? How about that one? Is that a good one to do? If you want a fun song in honor of Jess Macchiato, put a 1. This goes to the top. Governor Brad Little gave the university $1 million. That is interesting. Oh, we like Jess Machado? Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Here we go. See, I got songs for all of these creators. All right, it's not a very long one, but it's fun.
Little Jess was mad, oh what a sight, stomping and screaming with all of her might. Turtle Boy said he didn't love her today, so Jess threw a tantrum and scared all the boys away. She jumped up and down and she yelled really loud. Her face turned all red and she stomped on the ground. The bunnies got nervous and started to flee. They tunneled right out and they ran to Jolene, save me. Went the bunnies so fast, they zoomed through the fence and they didn't look back. Straight to Jolene's playground where the grass is so green, while Jess kept on yelling, "Come back here, bunnies, I will boil you. You will see." Then Turtle Boy watched with his eyes open wide. He saw all the bunnies go running to hide. He thought Jolene's yard looks like much more fun, so off he went hopping. The tantrum was done. Now angry Jess sits alone from midnight to noon, still screaming and screeching alone in her room. Fake bunnies as subs, a plastic ocean on her wall, while all the bunnies and Turtle Boy hear Jolene's siren call. Happy bunnies are chilling with Jolene, laughing out loud, so happy and so free, yelling Yahoo really loud.
All right, that was
Little Jess was mad, oh what a sight, stomping and screaming with all of her might. Turtle Boy said he didn't love her today, so Jess threw a tantrum and scared all the boys away. She jumped up and down and she yelled really loud. Her face turned all red and she stomped on the ground. The bunnies got nervous and started to flee. They tunneled right out and they ran to Jolene, save me. Went the bunnies so fast, they zoomed through the fence and they didn't look back. Straight to Jolene's playground where the grass is so green, while Jess kept on yelling, "Come back here, bunnies, I will boil you. You will see." Then Turtle Boy watched with his eyes open wide. He saw all the bunnies go running to hide. He thought Jolene's yard looks like much more fun, so off he went hopping. The tantrum was done. Now angry Jess sits alone from midnight to noon, still screaming and screeching alone in her room. Fake bunnies as subs, a plastic ocean on her wall, while all the bunnies and Turtle Boy hear Jolene's siren call. Happy bunnies are chilling with Jolene, laughing out loud, so happy and so free, yelling Yahoo really loud.